Hello again, everyone. I'm Dr. George Simon, and welcome to another edition of the new Character Matters program. This is the program where we talk about what I consider to be the defining issue of our time, the character crisis that we've been in for some time now, and what we can do to turn things around, because character always has and always will impact every area of our lives. And it's been my experience over 40 years of practice as a mental health professional and counselor that character matters. It matters to all of our relationships. It's what will help us heal not only our broken relationships, but our broken world. But we have forgotten the elements, the most essential elements of what forges good character, how we develop it, how we encourage it, how we reinforce it, so that we can come to expect it once again, more universally, and restore some wholesomeness to all of our relationships, restore some greater harmony to all of our interpersonal, even our political affairs. And toward that end, I've written all my books, really, especially my most recent book, Essentials for the Journey, where I discuss what I call the 10 Commandments of Character in great depth. These time-honored principles, time-tested and proven principles for psychological, emotional, and spiritual health. And I've been talking in the last few episodes about the nature of genuine love, because love truly is the answer. But so many things masquerade as love and keep us from realizing what it is that can help heal us as well as others with whom we'd like to have a relationship. And toward that end, over the last few episodes, I've been talking about the nature of genuine love. It's not a sentiment. It's not just an urge or a feeling or an inclination. It's a behavior. And it's a powerful behavior, one that's poorly understood, partly because of how many other things that kind of resemble it are falsely interpreted as love. And today I'd like to talk about what I call the 4 A's that masquerade as love and keep us from appreciating the nature of genuine love. Those 4 A's are attention, adulation, admiration, and affection. There's another A that I will talk a little bit about, and that's amiability. I've written before about that on my blog at drgeorgesimon.com, and I've talked about it a bit on Character Matters, but let's delve into the subject, because so many folks in relationships that end up quite broken and end up quite toxic in a way and cause much pain have told me similar stories over the years about what they mistook on the front end of a relationship, what they mistook for love, only to find out after years of heartache how incapable their partner was of genuine love. Let's start with attention. A person can show you attention for an awful lot of different reasons. But most of the time, when they're paying attention to you, it's because they see something in you that they find attractive. Maybe it's your physical appearance. Maybe it's certain aspects of your personality. But at any rate, they find something that they find intriguing or positive, and there's nothing wrong with this, and there's nothing wrong with them paying attention to you. But the mere attention that you get, the mere interest that a person shows in you, does not equate with love. And this is a hook many times in a relationship, especially for a person who doesn't have a solid sense of themselves and their worth. Somebody pays attention to them finally, shows an interest in them. And this is almost always a bit intoxicating. And in their minds, they equate this interest alone with love, with regard, when it's not. The other A is adulation, paying compliments, those seductive words, positive strokes, making you feel special, showing that special kind of interest. This can seem like love too. And depending on your own character makeup and your own personality characteristics, it can be a powerful aphrodisiac, a powerful ego builder, to have someone praise, admire. There's another A word, admiration, that comes close to adulation. And this can seem an awful lot like love, and it can accompany genuine love too, but it is not the same thing as love. The capacity to love is a much more developed character trait. To admire something is relatively easy. To love is much more difficult. So at the front end of a relationship, when you're getting all those positive strokes, this can be interpreted as a person's love for you, but it doesn't have to be. And it takes some discrimination about matters of character to tell the difference. To understand that a person might be showing you attention and might be admiring some things in you, and that all feels well and good, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they have the character capacity to genuinely love you. Affirmation. This is a big one. And it's a big hook for folks who have not yet come to understand two things that I've written about extensively in all of my books, especially Essentials for the Journey and How Did We End Up Here, and that I've written many articles about. It's especially a hook for individuals who haven't fully come to appreciate two very important things: what their worth actually is in a balanced sense, and where that worth derives from. Some of us, in an impoverished sense of self-worth, look outward for affirmation and approval. This is the heart and soul of what can become a very unhealthy emotional dependency. And it's a two-edged sword. When we look outward for this affirmation, and we get it, and we sometimes equate it with love, it's easy to get hooked. It's easy to keep coming back because it makes us feel so good to get it. And we think that if someone pays attention to us and adulates us, and especially if they affirm our worth, or it appears that they are affirming our worth, at least to them, that they must love us, that we must be worth something. It's a real hook. It does not necessarily bespeak a person's capacity to not only wish you well, but to do you well, to want nothing but positive growth for you and your well-being, attention, adulation, affirmation. These things can seem like love, And they're not bad things in themselves, but they can be deceivers because they can keep you from appreciating how much more is involved with genuine love. Some folks use affirmation as a tool of seduction. They see something in you that they want, maybe even want to possess. And they also perhaps intuitively understand that you appear to need this affirmation. And if they're skilled in the art of what we call ego massage, they can build you up, which, if you already don't have a solid sense of your worth and where that worth legitimately comes from, can be really intoxicating, can be a real hook. And as I mentioned earlier, there's nothing inherently evil about any of these things. The problem comes when we mistake them for love, and when we mistake a person's willingness to show these things for a capacity on their part for love, for genuine love. The capacity for genuine love is a remarkable but increasingly rare character trait. And in order to discern it reliably, we have to be better able to understand what is and what isn't genuine love. I mentioned amiability earlier, likability. Some folks have an incredible knack for being likable. As I mentioned in last week's podcast, they may be very skilled in the art of positive impression management, might know all of the ways to curry the favor of others. But that doesn't necessarily make for a wholesome character either, or for the capacity to love. And the biggest reasons why relationships fall apart these days is because on the front end of a relationship, we don't spend enough time getting to know well enough who a person is in character. And we don't know enough about how to evaluate both the nature and the solidity of a potential partner's true character. Now, that said, that doesn't mean that there aren't individuals whom I describe in my books Character Disturbance, and especially in Sheep's Clothing. As a matter of fact, I was the first to describe such characters in Sheep's Clothing, who know how to pull the wool over your eyes. So any of us can be deceived. But it's still incumbent upon all of us to do some character vetting and to be able to trust a community of others to help us in that vetting process, because there's nothing more important. I'll keep saying this over and over again like a broken record. There's nothing more important to our relationships and to our overall social affairs and community affairs, to our life in general. Nothing supplants the role of character. The lack of it is killing us, and helping to restore it can go a long way towards salvaging wholesome relations between all of us, especially our most intimate relationships. So I'll keep talking about it over and over and over again. Maybe you'll get tired of hearing me. Character matters. It always has. It always will. And we must reclaim not only its importance, but we must reclaim our ability to discern it, both in others and in ourselves. We must reclaim all the essential elements of it to know what makes for good character and to not mistake attractive appearing qualities for character itself, because ultimately it's solid, well formed character that allows a person to love and makes for truly loving, wholesome, lasting relationships, especially intimate relationships, possible. I invite you to visit my blog at drgeorgesimon.com for more on this topic and to avail yourself of all my books, especially my most recent one, which I'm so proud of because it really, I believe, hits the nail on the head with respect to the character issues that are so important to us and to our relationships in this day and time. So until the next edition of the New Character Matters, thanks for tuning in. I'm Dr. George Simon. Take care.